Today, we're diving into a really specific vision of Islam, one that argues for total unity. We're talking one source, one message, and one single name for every single follower. It's a perspective that really challenges the whole idea of different groups or sects within the faith. So let's break down how it makes its case. All right, here's our roadmap. First, we're going to look at this problem of division head-on. Then we'll get into two really crucial roles, prophets and messengers. What's the difference? From there, we'll look at the divine law versus the prophetic method. All of this is going to build up to the main argument for one name for all believers, a view that, as you'll see, challenges some very popular beliefs. And it all wraps up with this idea of a final, perfected message. So, where do we even begin? Well, we start with the big puzzle this whole viewpoint is trying to solve, the problem of division itself. This is the question that's at the heart of everything. It's a simple one, but it's huge, right? If the origin is singular, from one divine source, how did it end up so fractured? It's a question people have been asking for centuries. From this perspective, the very existence of all these different sects and schools of thought is proof of that fracture. These labels aren't seen as just, diverse interpretations. They're viewed as actual deviations from a single original path that was meant to be walked together.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this argument for unity, we have to unpack a really key distinction the source makes between two fundamental roles, the prophet and the messenger.
First up, the messenger. Now, in this view, a messenger is a total game changer. They're the ones who get a brand new divine law, a sharia, straight from God. Think of them like an architect, showing up with a whole new blueprint for how a community should live and worship. A prophet, on the other hand, works with the blueprint that's already there. Their divine job is to guide people back to a law that a messenger already delivered. They're the teachers, the guides, the ones who make sure everyone is still following the plan. Now, here's where it gets really clear. Every messenger is also a prophet, right? I mean, they have to guide people to the new law they're carrying. But, and this is key, not every prophet is a messenger. The example used here is perfect. Moses was the messenger, the one who received the law. His brother Aaron was a prophet who helped guide the people to that same law. See the difference?
Okay, hang on to that idea of messenger versus prophet, because it's crucial for understanding the next two big concepts, the divine law, or sharia, and the method for actually applying it, which the source calls the curriculum, or sunnah. The sharia is basically the what. It's the set of core commands that come directly from God. These are the fixed, unchangeable pillars that are the very foundation of the faith. And if the sharia is the what, then the curriculum, or sunnah, is the how. It's the messenger's practical user guide, the specific rules, the clarifications, the nitty-gritty you need to actually put God's commands into practice in your daily life. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. The sharia is the big command from God, pray. It's fixed. The curriculum is the messenger's detailed explanation of how you pray, the steps, the movements, what you say. One's the divine order, the other's the prophetic how-to guide. In sticking with that prior example, the curriculum gives you this exact step-by-step guide. It takes the big, abstract command from the sharia and makes it something real, something anyone can follow, from how to get ready with ablution all the way to the final greeting. Okay, so we've got our building blocks, messenger versus prophet, law versus method. Now we can finally see how the source uses all of this to build its main argument against all the division and for one single name. This verse right here is the absolute cornerstone of the argument. It's read as a direct, non-negotiable command from God to stay united, to hold on to that one rope, and to avoid breaking apart. So the takeaway from this perspective is that any label, other than the one given by God, is basically a violation of that command. These other labels are seen as man-made ropes that are pulling people away from the one true rope of a law. And here it is. This is the name the source champions. It points to scripture that says God himself gave the title Muslims. And the logic is really direct. If God has already given you a name, why would you ever need another one? In this view, you just don't. This brings us to some of the most, let's say, direct challenges to beliefs that are widely held across the Islamic world. And we're going to present these claims neutrally, just as they're argued in the text itself. Okay, so the source material we're looking at explicitly rejects several famous narratives, many of which come from the Hadith literature. We're talking about the prophecy of Islam splitting into 73 sects and the stories about future figures like the Antichrist, the Mahdi, and the second coming of Jesus.
Now, to be very clear, we are quoting the source material's position here. It makes the very strong claim that these beliefs are not authentic to Islam's original message. It attributes them to outside influences, specifically calling them Jewish beliefs or even fabrications by enemies of religion who wanted to divide Muslims. So where does all of this lead? Well, it all builds up to one single, powerful conclusion that everything hinges on: the idea that the divine message has already reached its final, complete, and perfected form. This verse is presented as the final seal on the religion, and you got to hear those key words: perfected and completed. The interpretation here is that the blueprint is finished, the structure is built, nothing needs to be added, and nothing should ever be taken away. So, the ultimate takeaway is all about finality. If the religion is already perfect, well, then there's no need for any future patches or DLC, right? No new messengers, no returning figures, no more prophecies to clarify things. The source uses this incredible metaphor. The pen is lifted until the day of resurrection. In other words, the story has been written, it's done. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This perspective presents a path that is complete, that is already laid out perfectly. So it raises a really powerful question for any follower. If the way is already perfected, what then becomes the main job, the main focus of the person who's walking on?